everyone. I'm Marlow Felton.
I'm Chris Felton with a new haircut.
You did get a new haircut. Yay. And he shaved. If you guys missed it last week, Chris had not shaved. He looked like Grizzly Adams. And now he's all clean cut again.
In a balding middle-aged man sort of way.
So thanks for joining us. And today we're going to share with you the #1 overlooked wealth concept. And I'm getting ready to tell them, which is respecting money. So most people don't think about really respecting money in any and all amounts that might come into their life. And often, and I've found myself doing this in the past, and I have to stop myself if I catch myself doing this now, and that is seeing someone that has something you want, or the lifestyle, the car, the home, the whatever, and saying to yourself, oh, how did they have that and I don't? They don't deserve it. Because the truth of the matter is anything that you would project onto someone else is really a reflection of your own worthiness around money. So saying they don't deserve it is like saying I don't deserve it. And many people don't make that connection. We will tell you we've seen example after example of how true that is. And if I see someone that does not respect other people's money, I know that they're probably struggling financially. And we have seen over the years, haven't we seen example after example that that's true. And really being, grateful for any and all amounts of money that come into your life.
Yeah, I mean, the people you interviewed for our book, I mean, the multi-decamillion, couple $100 million net worth people, when we hear people that struggle with money, they're like, well, it's only $5 or it's only $10, and they never had that mentality. And when I struggled and was broke and all that, I was like, well, I mean, I had that same thing too. I mean, oh, it's only 5 or it's only 10 or, well, that's not enough. And, what's that amount going to do? That's not going to make a difference. And that's just lack of respect of, for all dollars. And so, every time we get compensated or paid or find a penny or I didn't think that stuff was going to matter, but based on results and the fact that I was stinking broke, I had to try that whole appreciation, gratitude, hat on for all monies and everything that showed up, and whether it was $12 or several thousands of dollars. I mean, that was a shifter for us, and so appreciation of money of all types, and people don't respect money by what?
They're broke.
They're broke.
Well, so if you're just joining us and you have no idea what we're talking about, I'm Marlow Felton. This is Chris Felton, my husband.
High and tight.
My wonderful husband. And we're sharing the #1 overlooked concept about wealth, and that is respecting money. So that means your money, other people's money, how you view other people with money, and any and all amounts of money that come into your life.
And so I said.
So your question is?
When you look at people that don't respect money,
they're broke.
What do you see? We don't rehearse.
We did not rehearse this.
Is that obvious? So
why don't you just tell us, honey?
You used to manage properties, right?
No. So you're talking about my example of what I saw, how I saw this unfold. Okay, so I'll share that. I wasn't planning to share that right now.
I had the same thing. I had this very same thing. So go ahead.
You had the same thing?
Go.
I didn't know you had the same experience. Anyway, so I have a personal example of how this shows up, and it's profound. And years ago, this was like 18 years ago, I used to work with this property management company, and periodically there would be an eviction. So somebody would get evicted from their apartment or their house that they were renting. And I remember going into these homes that someone had just been evicted, and there was a consistent theme. And it wasn't until years later that I looked back at this when I was studying wealth, and it just hit me like between the eyes. So the place was always trashed because they obviously had no respect for someone else's property or their own to live in filth. And the interesting thing that I did notice is there was always, without exception, change found in drawers, sometimes just laying out on the couch or on the floor, maybe a quarter, a dime, a penny, a nickel. Random change just left everywhere. And, when I started studying wealth concepts, I thought back to that and I thought, wow, this played out in every aspect of those people's lives because they obviously had no respect for even small amounts of money. And that really played out in how they treated all of their money because they obviously didn't take care of their money and they ended up not being able to pay their rent. So that's huge. And if you've ever had an experience about that, like that, think about that. I mean, that's powerful. I mean, because I looking back, I cannot remember one exception to that. And that, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, no, I used to have, I had this jar when our office was in downtown Denver, and it had gobs of change in it. I mean, it just kind of like did, right? And it didn't matter how much money I made. It was always like, whatever. And so, based on results, how well do I know things, right? Obviously, that didn't serve me. And, one of the key money concepts is money likes to be appreciated. And money likes speed, money likes to be appreciated. And so, when I was just studying this and the quote I read was, until you start managing the money you have now well, you're not going to see anymore. I mean, I remember I put the book down. We still have the jar.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, man, like I'm not managing the money I have now well. And, I took a sticky note and I wrote down, Felton financial freedom and posted it on there. And I went around and found loose change in my bag, my computer bag, just drawers, my car. I mean, it was probably, I don't know, $7 or $8. And I'm like, you know what? I got to do like the smallest thing to create momentum to shift my world. And I'm just like, whatever, like I can do that. But I didn't have respect. I was just like, well, once bigger money comes in, then, that we talk about that all the time. Well, once this happens, I'm going to get my stuff together. Once that happens, oh yeah, I'll respect it. And that whole, once again, outside in doesn't work. Right.
And so, so basically we started looking for money everywhere instead of discarding, seemingly small amounts of money and looking for money and respecting that money no matter how small it was in the change that we had just been discarding. And actually, I don't know if you remember this, but we, maybe a year or two after that, we were moving and we were going through some old things and purging some stuff, and we found an old briefcase of yours. Do you remember this? Do you remember? Do you remember what we found in that briefcase? Anyway, I found the briefcase, and I opened up the briefcase, and there was all this change in his old briefcase. I'm like, oh my gosh, you've been throwing money away for years, and it's everywhere. And so, good thing that we cleaned that up. And so we had quite the bag of change.
What? I know the story.
Oh, good.
No, it was. I was in Atlanta airport, and I went through security, right?
Oh, security checkpoint's a gold mine, I tell you.
Security checkpoint, and there was a separate line for all the kind of hourly, food workers that worked, in the terminals, and I watched like this guy put his stuff through and took all the change out of his pocket. And, put it in the bin and it came through, and he got the stuff out of the bin and left, I don't know, 30, 40 cents sitting there, which I eventually took. But anyway, well, no, I mean, I was just kind of watching.
It was abandoned property.
It was abandoned property. I mean, I was sitting there getting my stuff down, and I just kind of watched it. And then I watched like the next 10 people. And
he looked for him. He looked for him to give him his money back.
I watched like the next 10 people walk past that same bin, and then there was change on the table, And I was like, what the heck, man? And so, not judging them or whatever, but they're struggling to make money probably, right? They're making probably, 10, 15 bucks an hour. That's probably not, the kind of money they want to make, but they have that kind of lack of respect, and you see it. Airport security zone. Yep.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that story. And so if you're just joining us, I'm Marlow Felton.
I'm Chris.
And that's Chris.
Felton.
We're talking about the most overlooked wealth concept, and that is respecting money. Your money, other people's money, and how that plays out in your life, and even small amounts. All the wealthy people that we interviewed and that we know, and based on our own experience, we know that respect for any and all amounts of money is so incredibly important. And so one, seeing other people that have something you want, that are wealthy or well off or have the life that you want, saying they don't deserve it is the same as saying I don't deserve it. And it's a powerful, powerful underlying mental shift to make, to be happy for someone else, and to know that really, at the end of the day, if you look at someone that has what you want and you can say to yourself, good for them because they could do it, that means that I can do it. And that really frees you up to bring more wealth into your life. And so it's a mental shift, and it might seem like it's meaningless or doesn't really work, but we know from experience that it absolutely does.
Yes.
Right,
yep.
Honey?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just anything you appreciates back, right? Anything you push away, right? I mean, and so money is energy. So it vibrates, it just does. And if you don't believe that, then whatever, but it goes to where it's appreciated. Mm-hmm. And so that's why, unfortunately, it's not necessarily fair, but the wealthier get wealthy, and the people that struggle don't, and it's just because it's an and it's a respect, right? It's not even like, because there's so much head trash on love of money, and it's the root of evil and all that stuff, and I get where that's coming from because I read the Bible, but you don't necessarily need to love it, but you can't detest it. You got to have just kind of like this healthy respect for it, and money will work for you and be a stronger force in your life. Right.
So we actually started, looking for money, finding money. I mean, and we would celebrate any money that came into our lives. Literally, even if it was a nickel we found in a parking lot, we would pick it up and say, this nickel is filthy, and I just touched it. No, maybe I said that. He didn't think about it. He's like, oh my gosh, I just found this nickel. But we'd pick it up and say, okay, we're one nickel closer to our goals and dreams. And that's really, and that's a healthy shift. So I would encourage you, if you have any, thoughts, one, when you see other people, shift your thoughts to why them and they don't deserve it, to, good for them because they're clearing the way. If they can do it, I can do it. So that's empowering to you, and being grateful for any and all money that comes into your life because you're that much closer. So replacing the thought of it's not enough with it's one step closer, because it is. And that's really what we found. And we found a ton of change in the process. I mean, we were like human metal detectors. I mean, this one was stealth through airports.
It's another stream of income.
It's another stream of income. But it was so funny.
You guys now have multiple streams of income.
Oh my gosh. He used to come home from a trip and be like, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe all this change I found in the airport. It's hysterical. And really, so now you all are going to be looking for change in the airports, and I can guarantee you it is there. You just have to look for it. Money is everywhere. You just have to look for it and be grateful for any and all amounts. I mean, we just accumulated a ton of change. I mean, we had this huge jar, and I remember at the end of the year, I took the jar into the bank. I mean, I had to take a couple trips out for my car because it was so heavy, and they put it in the change machine, and it was like $100 or something that first year. Once we emptied his briefcase that had from years ago that he had just oh, here's some change, and just threw it in his briefcase when he was broke.
That's how I did it.
Yeah, because that's how he did it. And then we changed that. We cleaned that one up. So we hope that you learned something from that, and you take our examples and you start to respect any and all amounts of money that come into your life and money that you see others have, and respecting other people's money. And by the way, respecting other people's money, that includes your spouse.
Yep.
So respecting your spouse's need to have money is really important too, especially if you're in a relationship and you want to stay in a relationship. Respect their needs to have money. So is there anything else you want to add?
Nope.
We're good.
Covered it.
All right.
Good
So
work.
respect money. It's been awesome visiting with you, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.